I guess when that jams, it jams properly.
Mm-hmm. All right. We're live.
We are live. All right. Well, I'm here with Robert and Ian.
Hello.
Hello.
And we're going to be talking about 5 favorite albums of 2002. 20 years ago. It's really weird that it is, because it just almost seems like it was yesterday. And we have some similarities, but then also we have different ones from each of us. We hope that if you don't have them, any of the choices that we have, that hopefully maybe this video will sway you towards buying them. And we like physical media. So. And I am going to start. Okay. I have to mute that feed. All right. Well, I'm going to start off with David Bowie's Heathen. I just got this over the summer, first time. I never had it before, and I felt like it was something that I should have done when it came out originally. The one thing I like about David Bowie is each album, it's almost like he changes himself. You know, they call him the chameleon. He changes his style. I mean, I think a lot of times he's ahead of the curve, and then sometimes he's right with it. But he brings his unique flavor to, and it's just one of those albums that, when you listen to it, it's a very somber, and there's some rocking songs on there, but it's a very somber. So I think it probably might appeal to the fans of the Berlin trilogy. Then I got, this is like the magnum opus, Echo in May.
Yep.
One
song, almost 50 minutes, and it honestly, it does not feel like it's 50 minutes. It feels it's over before you know it, and it just takes you through like this journey. I mean, a literal journey. This is one of the few ones of their catalog that I revisit a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just something about this one. I mean, I love the other ones, but there's something about this one that it just it sticks with me.
Yep.
And it's I mean, you could just put your headphones on, close your eyes, turn off the lights, and you just go. It's almost like you're in the passenger seat to the band Ekelund driving, and it's just really a really good one. I mean, then we go to another American one. Is I Move?
Don't know that one.
This one was recently, like days ago, re-released, and here's Alex. I was re-released with I think a bonus CD and remastered. But this is the original one. I haven't had a chance to get the remastered one, but it's the original. The band sent this to me back in 2002 when it was released. I've had it ever since almost day one.
What the fuck, man?
Welcome, Alex.
Hi.
This is very, very good progressive pop music.
Yeah.
I mean, very modern feel. It's kind of cool that they have a acoustic drummer and an electronic drummer, so it gives a little more depth to their music.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of background
clear.
noise though.
There's a shitload of background noise, isn't
Yeah,
there?
there's a load
Can
of
you hear me
background
better
noise.
now?
I
No.
hear you clear as a crystal.
Yeah.
Very.
You still hear me like shit? Okay. Fucking goddamn thing.
And then the next one I got
It's all
Got it.
aggravating.
Pain of Salvation, Remedy Lane. This was the
Yeah.
re-release that they did where it has like a live album where I think Daniel remixed it. You know, I think a lot of these musicians are overly perfectionists, and if they see one little thing wrong, I mean, the audience would love it, but they see one thing wrong and they want to go and do it. This progressive metal. I mean, it's different than the other, you know, like Dream Theater, where they're more on a symphonic level. I mean, this is very eclectic stuff.
Yeah, that's the only one of theirs I've got, is that one.
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, and this is another band that from album to album they changed. I think the only time they stayed the same was with the first two albums, but when they went to Perfect Element, and then when they went to this, some fans were like, "Oh, not more of the Perfect Element," you know. And it's like, you know, I like bands that change it up, you know. And then my final one, which a few of us have, Porcupine Tree in Absentia. I think wasn't it part of an unofficial trilogy? They had this, Dead Wing, and
Hero of the Blank Fladdent.
yeah, it was almost like because
Yeah, those three sit together.
yeah, I mean perfectly. I mean it's like a little, I guess you could call it an unofficial trilogy.
Yeah.
And I have been a fan of Porcupine Tree since the mid 90s when they put out Sky Moves Sideways. And it was just amazing how they went from the first two, which was basically Steven Wilson with guests, in a psychedelic pop direction. And then they went to Sky Moves Sideways, was more in Pink Floyd. And then now the album escapes me right after it was the beginning of their more heavier stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then but this one I go back to this one a lot. You know, it has a lot of great songs on there. You know, Blackest Eyes, Trains, The Sound of Muzak. And then the one that I recently, when I was listening to it, I mean, Strip the Soul, and then the ending one, Collapse the Light. Was good.
It's a great collection of
Yep.
songs. Yes, it is.
Yeah, Gravity Eyelids is probably my favourite on there, that and Trains, but it's a great album. To me, it's their strongest. It's the one I always go back to first, is that one.
Oh yeah, it's I love that one. I mean, you know, when it came out, I played it to death.
Yeah.
But it's one of those ones that just still stands up. You know, even after playing it, you know, a few dozen times, you know. It still stands up.
Indeed.
Now we hand the baton over to Robert.
Thank you. Well, just to continue very briefly on your thread, Ron, In Absentia by Porcupine Tree is very, very special to me because I'm here with all of you guys, probably because of that album. Because when I was listening the first time to that album, it kind of gave me a big boost in, my love for progressive rock music. And then I heard about this little festival in Pennsylvania called Nearfest. I said, "Oh shoot, I gotta go there." So I went to Nearfest 2003, and I started organizing my own festival a couple of years later. So that was a big part of my descent into the world of prog rock and visiting the United States yearly to get my fix of music and making friends with extraordinary people like you guys.
That's really amazing, Robert. I mean, you took that huge step. That's a big step.
Absolutely. So, okay, my first album that I'm going to really talk about is this thing, 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence by Dream Theater. It's their 6th album. It's a double album. I feel the band was still really at their very best at that time. It's a great album that included songs like Glass Prison, Missing the Disappear, and the gigantic epic title track, 6 Degrees, which was comprised of a song, Solitary Shell. Wow, what a great song. And the band was in studio composing and recording on 9/11/2001. So many of the texts are kind of influenced by those events. All right, so that was the first one. My second album, Nora Jones, Come Away With Me, my beautiful Nora. Oh, I love her. It's her beautiful debut album. It's warm, it's intimate, it's comfortable. Her voice is absolutely perfect for Sunday morning music, And, it was a fantastic album. She received the Grammy Award for Album of the Year and Best Pop Vocal Album. The style of the album incorporates blues, jazz, folk, soul, and many great jazz musicians were on that album, including Bill Frisell. And to give you an idea how popular that album was, it sold 11 million copies worldwide. That's a big amount of this. All right, my third album. I don't know, maybe Ian or Alex might have it in their collection. Alice by Tom Waits.
No, I don't. No.
Alice by whom?
Tom Waits.
Tom Waits.
No, I don't have that, but I have a lot of respect for Tom Waits.
Yeah, good guy.
This album is kind of special because unlike most of his previous album, it's kind of smooth, bluesy, jazzy. It goes kind of from a march to sinister circus music. Tom Waits' voice is raspier and more gravelly than ever. And at times it's almost melodic. It's kind of very varied. It's a collection of very, very poetic love songs that were written along with his wife, Kathleen Brennan. Basically, many of the songs would fit well as the soundtrack of, the TV series Peaky Blinders.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that would be a great soundtrack for that. All right. Fourth album. Fighters, One by One. Great album. It's a double album. It has songs like All My Life, Times Like These. Unfortunately, that album during the tour, it was the first time that drummer Taylor Hawkins overdosed and was in a coma for weeks and weeks.
Really?
Broke a little bit.
Wow.
The momentum of the band at the time. It has a couple of very, very great songs, but I do admit, since it's a double album, it does have quite a bit of filler. But musically, the musicians were really at their prime on that album. It's not their most remarkable, but it's great, and it won, the Grammy Award for Best Rock Album in 2004. So,
Who was this? Was this FM?
Foo Fighters.
Foo
Fighters.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that.
All right. Oh, my last album. That's a special one. Sigur Rós.
Oh yeah.
A band known for okay. They're known for weird atmospheric music, the gibberish singing, a little bit pretentious, and it's kind of a continuation of their previous album, Agnetis Vision, something of that sort, and it features something very special. It's the most useless album, informational album.
Oh, it's dreadful. Yes.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Just, rice paper, rice paper, rice paper, rice paper.
No copy.
Wonderful.
Oh wow.
No copy on it. It's
Wow.
also the worst for internet searches. You just put in parentheses.
Parentheses, yeah, exactly.
That's
So that's my stuff.
okay.
Who do you want to go next, Ron?
All right, we'll have
Oops. Did we lose Ron?
I think you're freezing a little bit, Ron.
Alex do it.
All right. Then I'll go ahead and start. Sorry for
Ready,
my
Alex?
Pardon? Should I go ahead and start?
Go ahead, Alex.
Okay. Sorry for my rough start. Having some technical difficulties, but finally got it together. My first one is going to be 5UU's Abandoned Ship. Dave Kerman had been very active, but in other bands for years. Oh, very good. Very good, Ian. And this one was kind of his comeback of his own material, as opposed to being with Thinking Plague and other bands. It's a little bit out there, but I love it. I think it's really good.
It's fantastic.
It's clear to me that he spent a lot of time on all the music. So he thought about it before he released it. The next album I'm going to bring, I'm sorry, go ahead, Ian.
Yeah, that one was pretty much Dave played everything on that. The only other person really on it is Deborah Perry doing the vocals. It's a tour de force for Dave in terms of him playing everything. There's not a bad track on it.
No, it's great stuff. It's fantastic. But it has to be experienced.
Yes, it's difficult. It's difficult.
Yeah. So my next one is, I think probably everyone here knows Bubble Math.
Oh yeah, love that band.
Bubble Math, yeah.
Such Fine Particles of the Universe. I just came across this one without even having any idea what it was, and I thought it was pretty good. It's not quite as heavy as some of the other things, but I still like it, and I think it's worth searching out. Also, everything that I'm listing today is on Bandcamp, so you can find it all on Bandcamp. And then I'll move to my next one, because this band is really dear and very close to me, Deus Ex Machina, an album called Sank, which is there's only a couple of songs that are original. Everything else is kind of a redo of what they did in the past. But it was so great to see them still together and doing something at this time, because it seemed like they had broken up. And to me, I really love their combination of kind of fusion-y stuff with the older, I don't know if you're familiar with Aria from Italy back in the 70s. They were very much in that vein, and I really enjoyed this. Also, there's a DVD that came with it. If you want to order the CD, you get a DVD, and it's kind of nice to see them live. I think the violin player for Kenzo, if I recall, or KBB, my mistake, the band KBB had played with them, because they had lost their violin player for a while. I'm sorry, go ahead, Ian. Were you going to say something?
Nope, all good.
The next album I'm going to bring up is Hydra Space Folk.
Oh Yeah.
that's a good album.
So I saw them at Nearfest, and I've been a big Osric Tunnicles fan for years, and they're very much in that vein.
Yeah.
Space rocky, fusiony sort of thing. Really, really interesting. They're a little more on the rock side rather than, the fusion side or the electronic side, but they're quite good. Great bunch of guys, too. I got a chance to meet them, on stage, or off stage, I should say.
Wonderful hippies.
Great guys. And then I'm going to bring up about Kenzo. I saw Kenzo at Nearfest. Great. I got to talk to the guitar player for hours. Wonderful guy. Works a lot. He was practicing every moment that he wasn't on stage. So they put on a great show. And very good if you like any sort of fusion. A little bit on the easy sort of side. Not really hard, not really hard edged. But still, I find it quite enjoyable. And then the last thing I'm going to have a band here, but the last thing I'm going to bring up is Nebelniest. Their second release.
Oh, yeah.
It was called Nova Express. There you go. And I saw them at Prog Day, and they were great. I talked to them at length about Magma, and the guys were in their 20s when I met them, and they were working in the Coca-Cola bottling factory in France, in Paris, which is how they actually got together. So,
great band.
Those are my choices for 2002.
Fantastic.
I've realized the big disadvantage of going last is that everybody picks everything you've already got. So I did have
a different opinion.
So yeah, they were all in my original list. Fortunately, I brought lots of backups.
Oh, very good. Smart move.
So I'm going to start off with Tholo, Contact.
Oh yes, that's a great album.
This is Francois Tholo. He's a French multi-instrumentalist. He's in the soft end of the Zool pool. So he's Magma style, but not as aggressive. A couple of guests on this particular album. Philippe Boussonet, the Magma bassist, plays on this, as does Daniel Jehedre. I've probably butchered his name, from One Shot, play on there. So it's a full album of the gentler side of Magma type of Zool. Excellent album.
Yes, very good. Very good album.
Next one, Boards of Canada, Geogaddy. They're a Scottish electronic instrumental duo. Play lots of cinematic soundtrack types of music. That's probably my favorite of their albums. This one will not show up on Canada unless I get on camera, unless I get the light right. I'm just getting it there. This is Boren and the Club de Gore, Black Earth. They're a German doom jazz band. So it's very, very slow, very, very ambient, very dark jazz, and it's very cinematic. It's very atmospheric.
I'm sure I would love that album.
Black Earth, it's called. It's got a skull on it. You can just about see there the skull on there. Very dark, heavy music.
Great.
Third album up. This is Culto Sin Nombre, Mexican band. Mm-hmm. This is their album. Fracturas and Juras. This is a band led by Juan Carlos Ruiz, who's a bassoonist, primarily oboe player. He was in Nazca and Decibel. His current band is Arteria. It's very much chamber rock. There's no drums, there's no bass. It's piano, violin, bassoon. But if you're into that kind of Universe Zero, Present type of chamber rock, it's very much in that, very much got that kind of Artzoid Universe Zero type of feel to it. Nice. Big fan of those guys. And then my favorite album of the year 2004 is this one, which is by the band Vasily Otkaz, who are a Russian band from Moscow. That translates as Polite Refusal. They started out in about 1985. They're right at the start of the Glasnost period. They've got 3 original members from that band on this. I think this is about their 7th album. They play a kind of avant edgy folk. So it's a fairly acoustic instrumentation, lot of lyrics. I don't understand any of the lyrics. They're all in Russian, but it's edgy, it's dark, it's punchy type of music. A lot of humor in it. Roman Suslov is the guitarist and vocalist who pretty much writes everything. Got to see them play in New York about 4 years ago. They thought I was never going to get to see the chance to see this bucket list band, but they came over for a Russian folk festival and then did 2 or 3 gigs around the Russian folk festival and went to see them in New York at the Dom. Absolutely fantastic band. If you want to check out that kind of edgy, darky type of avant folk edge, they're a go-to band for me, Vasily Otkaz.
Excellent.
Very good.
And that's my set.
Excellent.
Great. Great. And that's
a lot of great choices. Things that I didn't even, when you mentioned that one, Nebulist, I have that.
Yeah.
I have that in my collection. It's one of those things. I mean, years ago, on Prog Years, everybody, was, like worshiping Magma. And I was like going, okay, everybody's liking this band. Let me go and try it. I tried it. I didn't like it. So Greg Walker told me Universe Zero, bands like those, that I might like. And those ones, I love those ones. Nebulist.
There's One Shot, quite good.
If you don't like Magma, you should try One Shot, who are basically the instrumental guys from Magma as a instrumental band. So you don't get the Kobaye chanting, but you still get the heavy fuzz bass groove. Great band, One Shot.
They're great, and I got to hang with them for a while. I had lunch with them at Nearfest. They were great guys.
Yep.
Yeah, great show too.
Didn't some people call it Klingon music?
Yeah, it's Klingon opera. Klingon opera is actually probably the best description of their music. It does really decide what it sounds like. Yeah, they are.
Right. An album that no one talked about. I'm surprised. Pearl Jam.
No, not for me. Not for me.
Not a fan. Okay. Well, it's not a bad album. It's not their best, but it does sound.
Pearl Jam, I think, is not a bad band, but it's not that I'm really into.
I like Versus. They did about 2 of their albums. I think I've got 2 of their albums. Versus is the one I listen to most.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, we've covered the year 2002. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Anything else, Ron?
Well, did you? I know. I'm sure you guys bought other stuff, and kind of limited it to 5 because I think we have more than might go over the time for some people.
Right, and our collections are huge, so we have way too much to. Really put in one
yeah.
I think you got the biggest collection out of all of us. I think.
I'm not sure. It's probably close to Ian.
No, I don't think so. I think you're bigger than I am. I'm glad I went with 4 backups. I needed my 4 backups today. You picked out of all of my first 5.
I'm so sorry.
Well, it's I mean, as we're getting closer, now this is 20 years ago. As you're getting closer to our time now, favorite stuff is going to go through okay, well, this week, this is my favorite album. This week,
next
week is my favorite album.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely.
They aren't embedded, are they? No.
Yeah, they're not quite. I mean, that's why I stopped at 2002 instead of, probably going to 2012, because it really hasn't yet embedded itself into people's quote unquote favorite. Because everybody, it seems to change.
The thing that I find too much of, and this is probably true for all of us, is I just keep going back to the 70s stuff too much. I need to really spend more time with the newer material?
I'm 50-50. I spend about half my time in the 70s and 80s and half my time in the last 20 years. So
Yeah.
my collection's pretty much split half and half at the moment. For some reason, the 90s is a wasteland, but other than that, it's.
And it's surprising because when you go back, so one of the things
yeah.
that's nice about going to Nearfest is that I got a chance to revisit all the stuff that I didn't see in the 80s and 90s. I totally gave up on music in the 80s, which was a mistake because there was plenty of good music out there. It just was it's not easy to find. You know, everything's on the internet.
Right.
A, we didn't have the internet, and B, I don't know what age you guys are at, but family was getting in the way at that stage. I was like, you know, young children, job, short of money. The last thing people wanted me spending money on was huge collections of albums.
And there is also limited access to music.
Oh, yeah.
When I was young, the only access to progressive rock was what was playing on the radio. So basically, I knew about Jethro Tull, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Genesis, Pink Floyd, Rush, and that's pretty much it.
I used to stand in the newsagents, and I used to stand in the newsagents and read Sounds and New Musical Express, and those were essentially where I was getting all my information from, was from the music newspapers.
You know, the amazing thing was I lived in Boston in the 70s. We left in 75, but I used to go to Harvard Square every Saturday, and I would spend the whole day in all the record shops. And they had record shops who actually had imports.
Yeah.
Like, remember Gem? Gem was an import company that was a lot of the stuff from Germany came from. So that was the only way that I found out about it, because a lot of the music press, at least in the US, had no interest in progressive music at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in Hollywood, you know, which is like about where I used to live, was about 25 minutes away. You hit the big store like Tower Records,
Yeah, Tower
and then
Records.
you hit the smaller store, like there was one called Aaron's, and there was one called Penny Lane, which had one in Hollywood and in Pasadena.
Penny Lane.
Cuba in Pasadena. That was like this little house. It was just like this little house. You walk right up to, it's almost like you're going to your friend's house, and all of a sudden you open up the door and it's this little record shop. And it's like it had imports. I mean, I got a lot of, in the 90s, I got a lot of progressive rock CDs from there. And then a few years later, I worked for a record store in my hometown. And the manager there was, I think he was as eclectic a music lover as Alex. I mean, because he would go anywhere from punk, classical, to jazz, to new wave. I mean, he would just bounce all over the place. I mean, he even liked, hip hop music, which I never got into. So everything that he listened to, it kind of absorbed into me. And I may not have bought everything that he was playing at that time, but eventually over the years, I was like, I remember what he said, you know. And it's like, I honestly think every kid should work. Well, nowadays they don't have them anymore, but a record, get your education in a record shop.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and a record shop that would play anything. I mean, I went in to the Harvard Coop, and they were playing Sensations Fix, Portable Man. I would never have heard that on the radio, and never heard that anywhere else.
Yeah.
So
we must not forget that many record shops had this little section of bootlegs. Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I would go through those.
Aaron's had a nice little section about maybe 4 feet of that 4x4, you know, where you're thumbing through like this, you know. And some of them, you know, what was cool is the people behind the counter were very honest. You say, "Is this any good?" And they'll say, "No, it's crap," or "Yeah, that's good."
Yeah.
You know, they were very. I mean, they weren't like like a chain stores like Hour or something like that, where you know they just sitting behind the counter taking your money. they didn't really care.
Right.
Everybody remembers the amazing Corny Phone record label.
Nope, never heard of it.
Many of the bootlegs
Because that was a bootleg
Pink Floyd,
label?
Led Zeppelin were on that label.
I see. I see.
Super grand.
Yeah, you know, it was funny. I found there was a band called, not really a band, but two guys who were in the BBC that did electronic music, and they called themselves Wavemaker. And they released a couple of albums, and I found them on Highway 1 just outside Pasadena in a really, really small place.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of great BBC radiophonic workshop, electronic music, if you like that. There are a lot of great, like, one-offs.
Very good.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
So
it's like a lot of great stuff out there. 2002, and we covered
Mhm.
a lot of ground with that. And
Yeah, I think so. It's great to see Ian here. I didn't expect Ian because I think Ian and I bring kind of an alternate view to things.
Not the mainstream prog view.
Right.
well, that's what I wanted. It's like I have a more mainstream thing with, I kind of stretch out a little bit,
Yeah.
and I kind of didn't want everybody to be the same.
Right.
Right. I wanted some people that had differences in their musical taste, because I think it makes it more interesting.
Mhm.
And plus also, I learned from it.
Very
Right.
good.
I mean, Ian, it's great. I get to hear stuff or see things I've never seen before.
That's the plan.
Yeah. So I hope
Exactly.
everyone had a good Thanksgiving, by the way. Or
Yes.
some holiday with
Happy
them.
Thanksgiving.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
You guys, have fun.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate you taking the time out.
Okay. Thanks for inviting us on and setting it up.
Talk to you later.
Ian, it's always great
All
to
right.
see you.
Nice to see you guys.
Pleasure to be in your company.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
See you later, everybody.